In the golden sands of ancient Egypt, beneath the shadow of pyramids and along the eternal flow of the Nile, people lived with the same questions we ask ourselves today. How do we find relief from pain? How do we preserve our strength? How do we extend our days and live with meaning? We often imagine them as mysterious figures frozen in history, wrapped in linen or carved in stone, but they were human, fragile, and searching for health just as we are. What is most surprising is not only the monuments they left behind, but the remedies they sought from the earth itself. Ancient Egyptians used plants and natural mixtures in ways that echo through time. They brewed the blue lotus, a flower that soothed the spirit and brought calm. They used cannabis to relieve discomfort. They worked with opium-like mixtures to ease pain. Their drinks, their herbs, and their rituals were not simply indulgences, but an early form of medicine, a human attempt to care for the body and comfort the soul. And in their story, there is a mirror for us. Because while they searched the banks of the Nile for healing, we search in our daily lives for the same thing: a way to keep moving, a way to stay alive, a way to hold on to energy and clarity no matter how old we grow. The lesson of ancient Egypt is not about drugs hidden in tombs or secret recipes lost to time. The real wisdom lies in their constant pursuit of balance. They believed in Mat, the principle of harmony, and that belief guided their health, their rituals, and their way of living. It tells us that vitality is never found in one substance, one pill, or one miracle cure. It is created in how we live each day. For older adults especially, this message is powerful because age does not take away our ability to nurture ourselves. We may not turn to lotus flowers or ancient brews, but we have access to a far greater medicine: the simple, daily habits that shape our strength, our longevity, and our joy. Think for a moment about food. The Egyptians survived on bread, beans, vegetables, fruits, and fish from the river. They ate what the land and water provided, and without realizing it, they were following what today we call a nutrient-dense diet. Modern science has shown us that the same foods keep us strong in older age. Leafy greens rich in calcium protect our bones. Berries packed with antioxidants protect our memory. Nuts and seeds strengthen the heart. And fish rich in omega-3 keep the brain sharp. Every meal is a chance to restore what time tries to take away. We do not need ancient recipes written on papyrus to guide us. We need only the wisdom to choose whole, colorful, nourishing foods that act as medicine for our bodies. Just as the Egyptians treated food as sacred, we too can see every plate not only as a meal, but as an offering to our future selves. Now think of movement. Egyptians walked through markets, across fields, and along riverbanks. Their lives demanded activity, and their bodies remained strong because of it. Today, our conveniences often steal movement from us, yet we can choose to reclaim it. A simple walk in the morning sun, stretching in the quiet of evening, or lifting light weights to keep muscles alive. These are not small acts, they are the building blocks of health. For older adults, light exercise is a way to fight stiffness, protect joints, increase energy, and even lift the mood. Just as the Nile flowed endlessly, keeping Egypt alive, our movement must flow daily to keep our bodies and minds vibrant. The ancients did not need gyms or machines. They had rhythm and consistency, and that is exactly what we must embrace. And then there is the mind. The Egyptians believed their heart would be weighed against a feather in the afterlife, and so they lived with a sense of purpose, harmony, and gratitude. They practiced rituals, songs, and prayers that reminded them of the value of each day. For us, the heart may not be weighed on a cosmic scale, but our thoughts and emotions do shape the quality of our lives. A positive mindset is as powerful as any medicine. Choosing gratitude over complaint, choosing laughter over worry, choosing to see the beauty in a sunrise or the warmth of a conversation, these choices protect our mental health, strengthen our immune system, and keep the spirit alive. For older adults, positivity is not about denying age or pretending that time does not pass. It is about facing each day with courage, optimism, and hope. That is how we live with harmony in a modern world. The Egyptians searched for relief in plants and mixtures. But what they really teach us is that health has always been a journey. They remind us that the pursuit of wellness is timeless, and that even thousands of years ago, people longed to feel strong, to find peace, and to live longer. We can honor their wisdom not by copying their herbs, but by continuing their pursuit of balance with the knowledge we have today. A balanced diet, light exercise, healthy daily habits, and a positive mindset are not just practices. They are our modern-day versions of ancient remedies. They are our blue lotus, our sacred Nile, our personal temple of health. When we live this way, we do not just survive the years, we thrive through them. And in that choice, we build our own monument, not made of stone, but of resilience, energy, and joy that stands as tall as any pyramid. Beneath the golden sun of ancient Egypt, where the Nile breathed life into the desert and the pyramids stretched toward the heavens, there existed a world that was far more human and relatable than we often imagine. We see their monuments as symbols of power and mystery. But behind the stone walls and hieroglyphs were men and women who struggled with the same questions we face today. They asked how to stay strong, how to overcome illness, how to soothe pain, and how to live longer, healthier lives. In their pursuit, they turned not only to gods and rituals, but also to the natural world that surrounded them. They experimented with herbs, flowers, and mixtures that acted like the medicines of their age. They used the blue lotus, a flower known to bring calmness and even mild euphoria. They used cannabis for pain relief, opium-like substances to ease suffering, and fermented drinks infused with herbs to lighten the burdens of daily life. When we hear the phrase ancient Egyptian drugs, it can sound like indulgence or escape. But in truth, it was a search for harmony, balance, and healing, a reminder that the longing for health and vitality is as old as civilization itself. Though separated from ours by thousands of years, carries a message we can still embrace. What they were truly chasing was not intoxication but well-being, not escape but equilibrium. They lived by the principle of Mat, the harmony of body, spirit, and universe. This concept is as powerful for us today as it was for them, especially for older adults, who often face the challenges of declining energy, stiffening joints, or fading memory. The wisdom of balance remains the most valuable medicine of all. We do not need to brew flowers by the Nile or crush herbs in clay bowls to achieve it. Our own modern tools are found in something far simpler and far more lasting: the daily choices we make about what we eat, how we move, how we think, and how we live. The Egyptians built their days around rhythms, and one of the clearest rhythms was the role of food. They ate bread from barley and emmer wheat, beans, vegetables, fruits, and fish from the Nile. They lived off the abundance of the river and the land, and although they lacked the words of modern science, their diet was rooted in nutrients that kept them strong. Today, we can refine that wisdom with precision. For older adults, diet is not just about filling the stomach, it is about protecting the body against time. Leafy greens, like spinach and kale, provide calcium to strengthen bones. Berries deliver antioxidants that guard memory and keep the brain sharp. Nuts and seeds fuel the heart and reduce inflammation. Fish and flax seeds provide omega-3 fatty acids that nurture both heart and mind. When we eat this way, we are echoing what the Egyptians once practiced, but with the added gift of knowledge. Every plate becomes a form of medicine, a ritual as sacred as anything performed in the temples of Karnak or Luxor. The act of eating is transformed from routine to reverence, from mere survival to a conscious choice for longevity. Yet health is never found in food alone. Just as the Nile flowed ceaselessly through Egypt, life itself is a current, and movement is how we stay within that flow. The Egyptians were not sedentary people. Farmers bent to the earth, fishermen cast their nets, artisans carved stone, and families walked along markets and courtyards. Their lives were filled with natural activity that kept bodies limber and strong. In our modern age, comfort often steals that movement from us. We sit in chairs, we drive cars, we spend hours at screens. But just as the Nile's flow could not be stopped, our bodies to demand motion to thrive. For older adults, light exercise is one of the most potent medicines we can choose. A brisk walk in the morning, stretches that loosen muscles, balance exercises that prevent falls, and gentle strength training to preserve bone density all become the modern equivalents of ancient labor. Each step, each stretch, each mindful movement is a way of saying, to time, you may pass, but you will not take my vitality easily. Movement keeps the blood flowing, the heart beating strong, the mind alert, and the spirit alive. It is not punishment, it is celebration, a daily ritual as important as prayer. But perhaps the deepest lesson from ancient Egypt is that health is not only physical, it is also spiritual and mental. They believed their heart would one day be weighed against a feather to determine their worthiness for the afterlife. That belief guided their lives with a sense of purpose and gratitude. They built rituals of worship, music, and art to keep the soul light and the mind at peace. For us, though our beliefs may differ, the practice of caring for the mind remains crucial. A positive mindset is more than a pleasant idea. It is a shield against the wear of time. Older adults who cultivate gratitude live longer and happier lives. Those who laugh often, who maintain friendships, who find joy in small moments, are healthier, not only in spirit, but also in body. Stress and negativity age us faster than years themselves, but optimism and mindfulness slow the clock. A few minutes of meditation each day, writing down blessings, smiling at the sunrise, or reaching out to loved ones are powerful forms of medicine. Just as Egyptians offered incense to the gods, we can offer positivity to our minds, and in return, life feels lighter, brighter, and more meaningful. When we look back on the Egyptians and their surprising use of herbs and substances, we should not see addiction or indulgence, but a civilization striving for health in the only way it knew how. Their story tells us that the search for vitality is ancient, that our desire to live longer, healthier, and happier is woven into the very fabric of humanity. Today we stand on their shoulders, equipped with knowledge they could not dream of, yet guided by the same principle of balance they cherished. For us, the true medicine lies in simple but profound practices: eating nourishing foods, moving daily, embracing healthy habits, and cultivating a positive mindset. These choices may seem ordinary, but they are extraordinary in their power. They are our modern equivalents of the blue lotus, the cannabis, the fermented brews, except they come without harm, only healing. So when we think of ancient Egypt, let us see more than pyramids and mummies. Let us see human beings just like us, longing for health and trying to preserve it with the tools they had. And let us be inspired to use the tools we have today with the same dedication. Each meal of vegetables, each step in a walk, each moment of gratitude, and each smile becomes our way of carrying forward their timeless pursuit of balance. In this way, we honor their legacy and we create our own. We may not leave behind pyramids of stone, but we can build monuments of health, joy, and resilience within ourselves, structures of vitality that stand taller than time itself. Along the banks of the Nile, life in ancient Egypt pulsed with rhythm, movement, and purpose. The river was not only a source of water, but a source of vitality, and its constant flow mirrored the flow of daily existence. Farmers bent low to sow seeds. Women carried jars of water balanced on their heads. Children ran through dusty streets, and workers shaped stone into monuments that still stand today. Their bodies were rarely still, and because of that, they were kept strong by the natural exercise of life. It is easy to imagine them as distant figures, but when we think about the way they lived, we begin to see something deeply familiar. They were not sculpted athletes or mystical beings. They were people who walked, lifted, stretched, and moved simply because life required it. Their world teaches us a lesson that echoes through time. The body thrives when it is in motion, and motion itself becomes medicine. Today we are blessed with comforts that the ancients could not imagine. But with comfort comes stillness, and with stillness comes decline. Cars, chairs, screens, and routines of sitting have replaced the natural activity of ancient life. For older adults especially, this stillness can take its toll. Muscles lose strength, joints stiffen, balance falters, and energy wanes when movement is forgotten. Yet just as the Nile's waters kept Egypt alive, we too can keep ourselves alive by embracing motion as part of daily ritual. The Egyptians did not go to gyms or track their steps on glowing screens. They simply lived in ways that demanded movement. For us, movement must be a choice, but it does not need to be extreme or exhausting. Light exercise, a walk around the block, gentle stretching at dawn, practicing balance by standing tall, or lifting light weights with steady breath is enough to awaken the body. These simple acts, repeated daily, are more powerful than any pill or potion. They are modern echoes of ancient rhythms, reminders that the body is built to move and that health flows from motion as surely as the Nile flowed through desert sands, but movement is only one part of the larger picture. The Egyptians understood that food was life. Bread, Beans, lentils, onions, garlic, dates, figs, and fish were staples that kept their people alive. Without the knowledge of vitamins or minerals, they naturally followed patterns that today we know to be healing. Their reliance on plant-based foods, grains, and fish resembles what we now call longevity diets. And for older adults, food is perhaps the greatest defense against time. When we choose foods filled with nutrients, we are not just eating, we are rebuilding, repairing, and protecting. The antioxidants in blueberries and pomegranates fight off damage to our cells. The healthy fats in walnuts, almonds, and salmon guard our hearts and sharpen our minds. Leafy greens, rich in calcium and vitamin K, fortify our bones against the slow erosion of age. Whole grains like oats and brown rice steady our energy and keep our digestion strong. The Egyptians ate to live, and we can live well by eating wisely. Every meal becomes not just fuel, but a form of medicine, a sacred act that honors the body the way the Egyptians honored their gods. And yet, health is never only about food and movement. The Egyptians lived by the principle of Mat, the balance of body, soul, and universe. They believed that to live well, one must live in harmony, not only with nature, but also within the self. Their rituals of music, prayer, and meditation were more than religious acts. They were daily practices that gave meaning and peace to their lives. In our modern world, where stress and worry often weigh us down, we too must cultivate harmony. A positive mindset is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Science now confirms what the Egyptians lived intuitively, that the state of our mind directly shapes the health of our body. Stress weakens immunity, anxiety strains the heart, and negativity shortens life. Gratitude, laughter, and optimism, on the other hand, protect us, heal us, and extend our days. For older adults, this is especially powerful. Every smile, every moment of gratitude, every positive thought becomes an act of renewal. Just as Egyptians kept their hearts light to pass into eternity, we can keep our hearts light by choosing joy in the present moment. Lifestyle itself becomes the medicine. The daily pattern that shapes destiny? The Egyptians lived by the cycles of the sun and the flow of the river, rising early, working under daylight, resting at night. Their days followed a rhythm of activity, nourishment, and rest that naturally supported health. In our age of artificial light and endless schedules, it is easy to forget the importance of rhythm. But for older adults, building daily routines that honor the body's natural cycles is essential. Sleeping deeply, eating at regular times, walking at sunrise or sunset, and allowing the body to rest at night restores balance. Rituals of calm before bed, reading, prayer, gentle breathing, echo the ancient practices of reflection and gratitude. These habits may seem small, but together they form the structure of health. Much like the stones of a pyramid rise one upon another to create something enduring. So when we think of ancient Egypt and the surprising substances they used, we can see more than mystery. We see a civilization searching, experimenting, striving for comfort and strength. They found their answers in blue lotus petals and herbal brews. We find ours in the quiet power of daily habits. The link between their world and ours is balance. Balance of body and spirit, balance of work and rest, balance of food and motion, balance of thought and feeling. For older adults, this balance is the secret to not just living long, but living well. A diet rich in colors and nutrients, movement that keeps the body alive, routines that honor natural cycles, and a mindset rooted in gratitude all become the foundation of modern vitality. The Egyptians built monuments that have stood for thousands of years, but their true legacy may be the reminder that life itself is sacred and must be cared for with intention. We may never walk along the Nile or climb the steps of a pyramid, but we can carry their wisdom into our own lives. Every healthy meal, every walk under the sky, every moment of laughter or gratitude is our way of building a monument to health. It may not be carved in stone, but it will stand in the strength of our bodies, the clarity of our minds, and the joy of our spirits. And just as the Nile carried life across the desert, these habits carry life across the years, giving us not only more time, but more vitality within that time. This is the modern medicine drawn from ancient wisdom, and it is a medicine available to us all. When we picture the feasts of ancient Egypt, we often imagine golden plates, endless bread, and the bounty of the Nile spread across long tables. Yet the truth of their daily meals was rooted in simplicity and in nature's gifts. The people of the Nile Valley ate bread made from emor wheat, beans cooked with garlic and onions, figs and dates harvested from orchards. Their diet was built from what the land provided. And while they lacked the scientific language of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, they lived according to principles that still guide the search for health today. They understood that food was not only nourishment for the body, but also strength for the soul. And their choices reflected a culture that revered sustenance as sacred. In this way, their wisdom speaks to us even now, especially for those in later stages of life, when every meal becomes an opportunity either to restore, but for older adults, its role is magnified. The Egyptians did not know of calcium supplements or omega-3 capsules, yet they consumed foods that supported their bones, hearts, and minds. We now know that leafy greens such as spinach and kale provide calcium and vitamin. We know that berries rich in antioxidants slow the decline of memory and guard against diseases of the mind. Nuts and seeds offer healthy fats that soothe inflammation and keep the heart strong. The fish that once filled the markets of the Nile offered omega-3s south that kept their bodies agile and their brains sharp, just as salmon, sardines, and flax seeds do for us today. Every time we choose these foods with intention, we are engaging in the same act the Egyptians did when they offered food as a blessing to their households. It becomes more than eating. It becomes an act of honoring life. But food was not simply fuel in Egypt. It was ritual, it was community, and it was balance. Meals were shared with family, strengthening bonds and creating joy. Today, science tells us that this sense of community around meals improves mental health and lengthens life. For older adults, eating in the company of others is as important as the nutrients themselves, for loneliness is as damaging as any poor diet. To sit at a table, to share bread and conversation, to laugh, to tell stories, this is nourishment that no vitamin can provide. The Egyptians understood the value of ritual in every act, and in our world, ritualizing meals with gratitude and connection adds a layer of wellness that food. They had beer and wine, yes, but it was often weaker and taken as part of daily meals. Their indulgence was tied to ritual and celebration, not to excess. This lesson carries weight today, for too often modern life pushes us toward extremes, too much sugar. The path to health for older adults is not about denial, but about balance. A sweet fruit instead of refined sugar, a handful of nuts instead of chips, water infused with lemon instead of soda. These small choices, repeated daily, are acts of balance. They echo the moderation practiced by a civilization that understood life's sweetness must be savored without destroying the. Egyptians walked to markets, carried baskets, and worked in fields. Their meals fueled activity, and activity in turn kept their bodies in harmony with what they ate. Today, we often eat in stillness, and food becomes weight rather than energy. For older adults, combining light exercise with mindful eating is essential. A short walk after a meal aids digestion and steadies blood sugar. Gentle stretching each day ensures that nutrients flow through the body with ease. Light strength training turns protein into muscle rather than letting it fade away. This balance of eating and moving, practiced daily, reflects the same harmony that once guided the Nile's cycles of flood and. The Egyptians rose with the sun, worked by daylight, and rested with the night. Their routines mirrored the natural world, and in that rhythm, they found health. For us, reclaiming rhythm is one of the most important lifestyle practices we can adopt. Sleeping deeply and consistently repairs the body. Rising early connects us to the energy of the day. Resting when tired, eating at regular times, and creating routines that honor the body's cycles are simple but powerful ways to restore vitality. For older adults, these rhythms reduce confusion, protect memory, and create a sense of stability that keeps both body and mind balanced. The Egyptians may not have known the science of circadian rhythm, but they lived it. We can return to that wisdom simply by aligning our habits with the natural flow of day and night. At the heart of all this, however, is mindset. The Egyptians filled their tombs with writings, prayers, and art not only to honor the dead, but to remind the living of the importance of gratitude and harmony. They lived with the belief that a heart weighed down by worry, anger, or regret would fail the test of the afterlife. In their way, they were practicing the same principles of positivity that modern science now confirms. Stress ages the body, Negativity weakens immunity, but optimism and gratitude extend life and improve its quality. For older adults, this truth is a lifeline. Each day we have is a gift, and when we choose to focus on blessings rather than losses, we lighten our hearts in the same way the Egyptians sought to do. A simple act of writing down 3 things to be grateful for, of smiling at a memory, of laughing with a friend, or of sitting in quiet reflection can transform not only mood but health itself. Just as incense filled the temples with calm, gratitude fills the mind with peace. So when we reflect on the Egyptians and their use of surprising substances, we can look past the image of exotic herbs and secret potions to see something deeper. They were searching for what we are all searching for: strength, vitality, comfort, and balance. Their food, their movement, their rituals, and their mindset were all part of this search. And in many ways, they were ahead of their time. We can learn from them not by copying their herbs, but by understanding their dedication to balance. For us, balance is found in choosing foods that heal rather than harm. In moving each day with intention, in living with rhythms that honor the body's needs, and in shaping a mindset rooted in gratitude and harmony, the pyramids may have been built from stone. But the true monuments of ancient Egypt were built from their pursuit of health and balance. Today, each of us has the opportunity to build our own monument, not with bricks or statues, but with choices: a plate filled with color, a walk taken in fresh air, a night of restful sleep, and a day begun with gratitude. And unlike the monuments of Egypt, which stand silent in the desert, our monuments live within us, breathing, moving, and radiating vitality. To live this way is to continue the legacy of one of history's greatest civilizations, and to remind ourselves that health is not found in secrets buried under sand, but in simple acts practiced every day. When we explore the world of ancient Egypt, it is easy to be captivated by the monumental pyramids, the golden tombs, and the mystique of pharaohs. But behind this grandeur lies a very human story about how people lived, what they consumed, and how they sought strength for both body and spirit. The question of what the Egyptians used as medicine, as stimulants, and even as recreational substances opens the door to a conversation that is not only about history, but about timeless lessons in how we care for ourselves. They experimented with herbs, roots, and resins, blending what nature gave them into potions and remedies. They turned to poppy for pain, mandrake for sleep, blue lotus for relaxation, honey for healing, and garlic for vigor. Though their knowledge was wrapped in ritual and myth, it reflected a truth we continue to rediscover. Nature provides what the human body needs, but it is up to us to use it with wisdom and balance. For older adults today, this wisdom becomes especially valuable, because our lives are filled with complexity and modern pressures that sometimes make us forget that health can often be restored with simple practices rooted in both nourishment and lifestyle. The Egyptians saw health not as a matter of chance, but as a delicate balance between the forces of life. Their doctors, who were both healers and priests, often prescribed diet before drugs. They observed that what people ate influenced not only the body, but also the mind and spirit. When we translate that into modern life, we find an echo in the science that proves how deeply food shapes the way we age. For older adults, every meal becomes a choice between vitality and decline. Choosing whole foods, rich in fiber and nutrients, gives the digestive system strength, prevents disease, and supports the immune system. Just as Egyptians used onions and garlic to fight infections, we can use similar foods today to keep our bodies resilient, just as they saw honey as both sweet indulgence and healing balm. We can remember that even simple natural foods carry medicinal power. The wisdom of their tables lives on in the bowls of fresh fruit, the handful of almonds, the drizzle of olive oil, and the glass of water that keeps the body alive with energy. Yet the Egyptians also teach us something about moderation. Their rituals around wine, their offerings of beer, and their use of herbs in controlled ways remind us that excess was never the goal. They enjoyed the gifts of the earth, but they did so with balance. For today's older adults, this is a call to moderation in a world of overconsumption. Too much sugar, too much fat, too much salt, these are the poisons of modern life. And avoiding them is not about deprivation, but about liberation. It is about freeing the body from burdens that shorten life and embracing the foods and habits that extend it. When we look at the Egyptians enjoying their feasts during festivals, we must remember that these were rare moments, not daily indulgence. Their daily diet was simple and sustaining, and their feasts were celebratory. To mirror this in modern times is to enjoy occasional treats, but to anchor everyday life in nourishment that fuels the body gently and steadily. But diet alone does not explain their endurance. Egyptians lived lives of movement. From the farmer tilling the soil to the artisan carving stone, from the women carrying water to the children playing in the courtyards, their bodies were constantly in motion. This rhythm of daily activity created natural strength and resilience, and it is one of the most powerful lessons for older adults today. In an era where machines and technology allow us to live with minimal movement, the body weakens if we do not choose to stay active. Light exercise, a walk in the garden, stretching before sunrise. A few minutes of lifting light weights becomes a bridge to vitality. It is not about exhausting workouts, but about consistent movement, just as the Egyptians practiced through their labor, their rituals, and their daily chores. Every step we take strengthens our heart. Every stretch keeps our joints supple. And every moment we choose to move instead of sit adds years of health to our lives. The Egyptians also tied healing to lifestyle in a way that feels remarkably modern. They believed in the restorative power of baths, not only for cleanliness, but for renewal. They used oils and scents to calm the spirit and refresh the mind. They practiced rituals at sunrise and sunset that connected them with nature's cycles. This teaches us that health is not only physical but holistic. For older adults, lifestyle choices that nurture the body, mind, and spirit are essential. A warm bath can soothe aching muscles. Meditation can calm the mind. Sunlight can nourish the body with vitamin D, and good sleep can restore energy. Each of these habits, simple and accessible, echoes the Egyptian way of living in harmony with nature's gifts. It is not about chasing expensive treatments or complicated routines, but about finding balance in what is natural and timeless. Equally important is the Egyptian view of the mind. They believed that emotions and thoughts affected the body, and they wove positivity and gratitude into their daily lives. The heart, in their mythology, was weighed after death against the feather of truth, and only a heart that was light could enter the afterlife. This image is not only spiritual, but profoundly psychological. A heavy heart, weighed down by anger, regret, or worry, brings disease and decline. A light heart, filled with gratitude, laughter, and peace, supports vitality. Science today confirms what the Egyptians intuited. Positivity reduces stress, strengthens immunity, and lengthens life. For older adults, practicing gratitude daily, surrounding oneself with uplifting people, and focusing on what is still possible instead of what is lost, can transform the experience of aging. A light heart is not a poetic dream. It is a practical path to health. The Egyptians also left us with the lesson of legacy. They lived with the awareness that their lives would echo beyond their years. Every temple they built, every text they wrote, every practice they kept was a statement of continuity. For older adults today, this lesson reminds us that the choices we make about health and lifestyle are not only for us, but for those who follow. To eat well, to exercise, to live with balance and gratitude is to model vitality for younger generations. It is to say that aging does not mean decline, but wisdom, strength, and resilience. This mindset transforms aging from something to fear into something to embrace. Just as the pyramids stand as symbols of endurance, so too can we stand strong by choosing to live with intention and care for our bodies and minds. And so, when we think of the Egyptians and the substances they used, we can marvel at their experimentation, but we must not overlook the deeper lesson. Their health practices were not about escaping life, but about embracing it fully. Their foods, their movements, their rituals, and their attitudes created lives of balance, strength, and vitality. Today, older adults can rediscover this wisdom not by copying their exact herbs, but by adopting the essence of their philosophy. To eat with purpose, to move with consistency, to live with balance, and to think with gratitude. Aging is not a burden. It is an opportunity to live with the wisdom of history and the clarity of experience. The Egyptians lived thousands of years ago, yet their lessons are alive today in every fresh meal, every mindful walk, every restful night, and every grateful thought. Their search for vitality continues through us, and we honor their legacy not by building monuments of stone, but by building monuments of health within ourselves. To live this way is to carry their torch forward. reminding the world that true strength is not found in riches or in hidden drugs, but in the simple, timeless choices that keep the body strong, the mind sharp, and the spirit light. When we arrive at the final layer of understanding, the ancient Egyptians and the surprising substances they used, it becomes clear that what truly sustained them was not just the poppy, the mandrake, or the lotus, but a philosophy of life that blended body, mind, and spirit into one continuous pursuit of balance. Their fascination with herbs and resins, their experimentation with natural remedies, and their rituals of healing were not simply curiosities of a distant civilization, but expressions of a deeper truth. Health is a daily practice, and vitality is something to be cultivated with intention. For older adults today, reflecting on the practices of ancient Egypt is not about copying the exact recipes of their past, but about uncovering the timeless principles they lived by: moderation in food, movement in daily life, harmony in routines, and lightness in the heart. These principles are as relevant now as they were when the Nile flooded its banks and left behind fertile soil. And they give us the keys to age, not with fear, but with strength and dignity. The Egyptians lived in a world without processed foods, without sedentary lifestyles dominated by machines, and without the endless noise of digital distractions. Their days were marked by sunrise and sunset, their meals by the rhythm of harvests, and their movements by the work of their hands. In such a life, they naturally wove together diet, exercise, and lifestyle in ways that modern science now validates. They may have turned to opium to ease pain or blue lotus to soften anxiety, but what truly sustained them was the bread from their ovens, the fish from their rivers, the figs from their orchards, and the walking, lifting, and laboring that filled their days. For older adults, this truth invites us to simplify. Instead of chasing complicated fads or extreme routines, we can find health in the basics: a plate of wholesome food, a daily walk, a routine of rest, and a practice of gratitude. Simplicity, as the Egyptians knew, is the ultimate sophistication. Consider their use of honey, not only as food but as medicine. Honey was applied to wounds, mixed into drinks, and offered to the gods. Today, science confirms its antibacterial properties and healing powers. The lesson here is not only that nature provides remedies, but that the smallest, simplest elements of life carry profound strength. For older adults, a spoon of honey in tea, a handful of berries rich in antioxidants, a sprinkle of seeds on a salad, or a cup of herbal tea before bed can be more potent than any synthetic alternative. The Egyptians teach us that healing often lies in the ordinary, and it is through consistent attention to the ordinary that extraordinary health is built. Movement, too, becomes a form of medicine. Egyptians did not sit for long hours as we do now. They walked, they carried, they stretched, they danced in celebration, and they worked with their hands. Movement was integrated into life, not separated as an isolated task. For older adults, this is a crucial reminder that exercise need not be strenuous or intimidating. It does not require expensive gyms or long hours. It can be found in gardening, in walking to the market, in climbing stairs, in stretching while listening to music, in light yoga, or in gentle swimming. The body responds to consistent use, and even small amounts of daily movement accumulate into resilience. Each step becomes a whisper of vitality, each stretch a promise of flexibility, each deep breath in motion a gift of life. The Egyptians show us that health is built not in bursts, but in rhythms, and it is those rhythms that keep the body young even as the years advance. The Egyptians were also deeply attuned to ritual, and this holds a special lesson for lifestyle habits. They began their days with offerings, prayers, and the rising sun. They bathed in the Nile, anointed themselves with oils, and filled their homes with fragrance. These were not luxuries but essential practices that brought peace to the mind and strength to the body. For older adults, creating daily rituals can anchor health and create meaning. A morning walk at sunrise, a moment of stillness with deep breathing, a journal of gratitude before bed, a cup of warm tea shared with a friend. These rituals transform ordinary life into sacred time. They reduce stress, foster joy, and remind us that health is not only about what we eat or how we move, but also about how we shape the atmosphere of our days. When life feels intentional, health follows naturally, even in their use of more unusual substances. The Egyptians teach us balance. The poppy was not consumed recklessly, but used to ease pain. The lotus was not indulged in endlessly, but taken as part of rituals of relaxation. These practices remind us that even in the modern world, moderation is everything. Coffee, tea, or even a glass of wine may bring comfort, but the danger lies in excess. The Egyptians teach us to use what soothes wisely, not to let it control us. For older adults, this means being mindful with stimulants, with alcohol, with sugar, and even with habits of distraction. Moderation preserves vitality, while excess drains it. By practicing moderation, we honor the Egyptian legacy of balance and ensure that our health remains steady. At the core of all of this is mindset. The Egyptians lived with a belief in eternity, in the continuity of the soul, and in the weighing of the heart. They believed that a light heart was the key to immortality, and this metaphor speaks across centuries. A light heart is free of bitterness, anger, regret, and fear. A light heart is full of gratitude, joy, kindness, and peace. For older adults, cultivating a light heart is perhaps the most powerful practice of all. When we release grudges, when we laugh freely, when we give thanks for each day, we lift the burdens that age can place upon us. Science now affirms what the Egyptians believed. Positivity lengthens life. Gratitude improves health, and peace of mind heals the body. To live with a light heart is to live fully, no matter the number of years. The Egyptians built monuments that still stand today. But their most enduring monument is the wisdom of balance, of ritual, of gratitude, and of health. As older adults, we can carry forward this wisdom not by seeking exotic cures, but by building our own monuments of wellness. Through daily choices, each nutritious meal becomes a stone in that monument. Each walk in the fresh air becomes another block. Each restful night of sleep, each moment of gratitude. Each act of kindness adds to a structure within us that is stronger than stone and brighter than gold. This is how we honor the legacy of Egypt, not by looking back with fascination alone, but by moving forward with application. So when we reflect on the surprising substances the Egyptians used, we can smile at their creativity and marvel at their experimentation. But let us not forget the larger truth they left behind. Health is a harmony, a weaving together of food, movement, lifestyle, and mindset. To embrace this harmony is to age not in decline but in strength, not in fear but in joy, not in despair but in gratitude. The Nile no longer floods our fields, but the wisdom of its people still flows into our lives, offering us guidance. And if we listen closely, we will hear what they always knew, that the greatest secret to life is not hidden in the sands, but carried in the choices we make each day. Then becomes not an ending but a continuation of that wisdom, a chance to embody the lessons of one of history's greatest civilizations, and to show that vitality is not a gift reserved for the young, but a reward for those who live with balance, intention, and joy. Like the pyramids, we can stand tall, strong, and enduring, shaped not by chance, but by the deliberate acts of building health into every moment of our lives. This is the legacy of the Egyptians, and it can be ours too, if we choose to live with the same reverence for balance, harmony, and the miracle of being alive. The story of the ancient Egyptians and the surprising substances they used is more than a tale of herbs, resins, and rituals. It is a reminder that the pursuit of vitality has always been part of the human journey. They lived in harmony with nature. They sought balance in their habits, and they believed that health was not only physical but spiritual. Their choices, rooted in both practicality and ritual, echo forward to us now. And for older adults, this echo is an invitation to live with the same reverence for food, movement, rest, and mindset that kept their civilization strong for centuries. Aging is not the closing of life's book, but the opening of its most meaningful chapters. The Egyptians built monuments to eternity, but the greatest monuments we can build are within ourselves: a body strengthened by good food and light exercise, a mind nourished by gratitude and curiosity, and a spirit kept light by kindness and joy. Every day becomes a stone in that monument. Every walk taken, every healthy meal chosen, every night of restful sleep, and every moment of laughter or reflection adds to the structure. In this way, we create pyramids of our own, not of stone, but of strength, resilience, and peace. So let the lessons of the past inspire your present. Choose meals that fuel your body rather than drain it. Take walks that refresh your spirit. Honor routines that give your days rhythm and meaning. Practice gratitude that keeps your heart light. The Egyptians may have turned to lotus and poppy for relief, but their deeper legacy is found in their balance, their rituals, and their resilience. That legacy lives on in you when you decide to treat your body with care, your mind with positivity, and your days with intention. If this message resonates with you, if you feel the call of history blending with your own journey, then let this be your reminder to act. Do not wait for tomorrow to begin living in balance. Start today, even with the smallest step, a healthier meal, a few minutes of movement, a moment of stillness. And if you found inspiration in this exploration of Egypt's wisdom, share it with someone who may also need the reminder that health and vitality are timeless treasures. Subscribe to this channel, The Sleepless Historian, where we bring the lessons of history into the light of today. Not as distant curiosities, but as living guides for a better life. Your journey, like the Nile, flows ever forward. May you flow with strength, with peace, and with joy.